Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. I've just moved into a new house, so the room's going to be a little bit echoey until I sort it out, so early apologies for that. But in the last couple of videos we've been working on the relationship system, where we can assign a relationship to somebody, we can get the relationship between the two people, it'll print it out and say we're minus 78 because we've buffed it out and we've done something really bad. We can come and update the relationship to 120, so he absolutely loves us, but he's got buffs, so he hates us. It's coming along very, very nicely. We will soon add a much better UI to it, but in today's tutorial we're going to look at adding usages to this. So not just some console commands we can key in, we're going to look at selecting the wrong dialogue choices, selecting decisions in quests affecting relationships. We're going to look at doing bad areas, so if somebody says don't go into my house and you do, we'll take the relationship down. And we'll also look at if you break something they own. Just a variety of different things that we can use to change a relationship. So let's get started. So the first one we're going to look at is the dialogue and quest part of it, because the code's going to be the same throughout it all, we're just going to show different implementations. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'm using the narrative quests in dialogue, renamed to narrative tales now, for all my dialogue and quests. That bit will be very bespoke to narrative. We'll be creating a narrative event and a narrative condition. However, the code, what we use to do it, will be very generic for you to use however you want. So on this guy at the moment, I don't believe he's got any dialogue. No, he's got no dialogue on his interact system. So let's go and create some basic dialogue for him. Just something super basic. So I've skipped ahead because this is not a narrative tutorial, but if you've ever used narrative, you know what they look like. And I've created a basic dialogue here. I just need to connect that one. So it basically varies from left to right on what the relationship will be to what response he'll give you. So if you've got a really bad relationship with him, he will basically tell you to just get out before he calls the guard. That's it. If you've got a negative but he's still willing to sell to you, he'll just say, oh look, it's you, look, take a look, but you're not going to get a discount. If you're brand new, so almost zero relationship, he'll put, oh hey there, not seen you around, take a look at my wares. If he likes you, he'll say, hello there, are you here to see my wares? A normal response. And if he really likes you, he's going to give you a discount. And then he'll give you some player options where we can basically say, yes, let me see your wares, and then we'll open up a trading dialogue. That's something I can do later. Or you can turn around and insult him and say your wares are rubbish, and then we can affect the relationship negatively. So let's do that one first. Let's insult him so his relationship goes down. So it's actually super simple, at least in a narrative terms, or if you've got your own dialogue system, you basically need somewhere to put little snippets of code. So for narrative, I'm going to come into my narrative folder, and inside my events, I'll just create a new folder called relationships, and inside here I'll right click, narrative event, and I'll call it any_update relationship, and I'll open it up. I'll immediately come to the class settings and just give it a nice display name, just like so it looks nicer. But then we've got a couple of functions, so I'm just going to come to execute event. And this is the one in your other dialogue systems, or however you're doing this, where you actually start to write the code to update it. So we built it all into the game instance, so I'm just going to right click, get game instance. And because we used an interface when we set it up, we can simply drag off and do update relationship with the message. Make sure it's on the BPI game instance. And now we've got all of our values here. So we could even tweak this and start doing things, saying the king says you smell or your wares are terrible, and we can make him hate somebody else. That's a powerful thing we can do. So at least in my system, and probably in yours, I'm going to come and promote these values to a variable so we can customize what they are per one, because we don't want snippets of code doing one thing at once. And because this is going to be very reusable, I am including the buffs, so I'm not intending to use them at the moment. And eventually when we get round to the UI, we'll make it do that inside this function. But for me, that's all we need to do. For narrative's sake, we can come and add some helpful display text. So I can drag backwards off of this and I can convert it to a text, so I can do format text, and I can just say update curly brace char1 and char2 by value. I'm not going to worry about placing all the buffs in for now. That's going to complicate it more and a bit outside of this video. But I'm just going to place all these in like so. And this just means it'll render nicely in narrative. That's all, you don't need to do. But now, with that simple code here that we've added on this dialog, if we come to where we say your wares are rubbish and add the event, you can see we've now got the update relationship here at the bottom. I can open this up and I've got character 1, character 2. So we'll say player and Knights Merchant. We'll say the value is by -10. He's basically insulted the guy. He's not going to be happy about that. And of course we could have some buffs if we want to, but I'm just going to tell it to run at the end of it, and it's going to not refire on load. If I come and speak to him now, if I print the relationship out, you'll see that we're just at 0. So if I speak to him, it's just going to say whichever the first one it is there, because we haven't put that part in yet. But you can see if I come and say your wares are rubbish, it'll leave the dialogue because I haven't added the response. But his score is now -10, which shows that we have insulted him. The relationship has gone down. Likewise, if we come and add a new node to this and just say something like, you have some really great stuff, we can get his relationship and we can add it to the event here. And we can just say we're going to positively increase it instead, like so. And if we compile and save this time, we can go back in. We can check the relationship is 0 because we've not saved it. If I come in, speak to him and say, you have some really great stuff, you can see if we print it out again, we now have 10. We've made him happy. But you're noticing that it's always picking the same one up here. It's the first one. And if I connect this one here, it will now be the first one. So it will always pick the negative one. The next thing we want, after the event where we can apply the relationship changes, is we want one to check the changes. We actually want to say, are you friendly with these? Negative, positive. We want to say, is the value between these two scores potentially, or is it more than this score? Something like that. So this is going to be a common check you might want to do. You could add this to your game instance if you want to check an update instead of just getting it. For me, most of my stuff's running off narrative, so I'm going to create something called a narrative condition. So I'm just going to come to my conditions folder. And again, I'll just create a new folder called relationships. And inside here, I'll right click narrative condition. And I'll call it NC underscore check relationship. And I'll open it up. So just like we did before for narrative at least, I'm just going to come and give it some blueprint names. So check relationship value, just like so. And then I will come and override the check condition. And this is basically just a function that returns a Boolean, yes or no. And we can apply these to this nodes. And the first node that returns true, it will take that path because it assumes the conditions have been met. So in my case, what we want to do, we want to get the game instance. Then we want to get the relationship. Just like we did before, I'm going to promote these two strings to variables. So we know which two characters we want to check. We could even make it a little bit easier on ourselves. Most of the time when we check a relationship, we want to check it against a player. So I can just set the default value to player. It doesn't mean it's permanently the player, we can change it later. It just makes it a bit easier down the line. And now here's the logic that we actually need to build in. We don't want to use just a core relationship because we want the buffs to take into effect. So we will be using relationship final. So there are a bunch of ways you could calculate this depending how you want it to work. You could use a more than less than and say, is it more than final? Is it less than final? And then you provide a number and that's what you can do. You could have a range, so you can say, is it between this and this value? It's up to you. Personally, I think the range is going to be a better and more useful one because there are very well maybe instances where you want to say, if they've got more than 10 but less than 50, then do it in that prime spot. Because if it's more than 50, you might want to say, give them a huge discount, for example. So what I am actually going to do is I'm going to create 4 variables. I'm going to create 2 booleans saying use min number, use max number, and I'm going to create 2 integers for us to use. You might be wondering why we don't just use the built-in range, because you can get an integer range variable here. The reason we're not going to use that one is you've got no way for us to realistically say whether or not we've provided an upper or lower value here. So a minimum or maximum value, you've got no way of saying whether or not we've provided that. With our relationship being scored from -100 to 100, we can't just set it to -1. We could put some fiddly thing in to say if it's 101, but we don't want that. So that's why I'm going to opt to do 4 variables instead, so we can truly make this check really reusable. So my first one will be b use min value, and that'll be a boolean. I'll duplicate that and say use max value, and then I'll add another one saying min value, which will be an integer, and I'll use max value for the next one. So now what we can do is we can promote the relationship final to a local variable called relationship value, just so we can reuse it. And then I'll add a branch in, and I'll say, are we using the minimum value? If we are, so it's true, then we're going to get the relationship value, and we're going to say, is it more than the minimum value, like so. And we can connect that into the branch. If it's false, then we can just immediately return false on the condition, because it's not more than the minimum value, and we are indeed using the minimum value. If it's true, then it means we've passed it. So now we need to check, are we using the maximum value? So I'll plug this one into here. If it's false, then we can just return true, because we're not using the max value, but we've already passed the minimum value. And then we can drag the relationship value in, and we can say, is it less than the max value, because we are using it? If it is, then we will return true. Otherwise, we will return false. It means it's more than that value. Now, you might be thinking, what if this condition here is we're not using the minimum one? Then we're just going to take the false and we're going to connect it straight to this branch here, like so. So it doesn't matter. Just zoom out so you can see that. If we use the minimum value, then it checks the minimum value. If we've failed the minimum value, then we return false. If we've passed the minimum value, we check the maximum value. And I realized I've just messed that bit up. So we're actually going to move this whole thing down as well. Connect that back up to the true. We don't want that branch to be checked. We want the entire thing to be checked, like that one. If we're not using the min value, then we will check, are we using the max value? If we're not, we just return true, because the condition, we've basically unticked both. At that point, it doesn't know what to do, so just return true. You can also make it false if you don't want to do it by default, but it works nicer if it is true. Then on true, if we are using the max value, are we less than it, because we don't want to be more than it? And then we return it like so. Equally, you could probably turn these to less than or equal to, in case you land on the very specific value. So you might say, my max value is 50, and my relationship value is 50. This will allow it to pass. If you change it to less than, 50 won't work. It will have to be 49. I'm just going to do it to this one as well. Like I said, there's multiple ways you could have done this. You could have added an enum and checked it if you really wanted to go that specific. But I'm just going to work this way. And that should be every case sorted. For narrative specifically, I'm just going to come and add a get graph display text just like we did earlier. And I'll just do a format text. And I'll say char1 and char2 value. I'm not going to worry about building the whole it less than more than part in, because again, it's a bit out of scope for this. If you do want to see that though, leave a comment below. We can add it to a little narrative specific video. But now that we've done this, if we come back to our dialog and select the first one, we can now add the condition of check relationship value. I'll open it up and we'll say char1 is cat player. It's automatically added that, which is good. The second character is going to be the Knights Merchant. And we will say we only want to check the minimum value, and the minimum value is going to be -50. So it's got to be more than -50. So -50, 49, 48, all the way to 100. But we'll give it a limit and say also only take this one if you're not more than -1. So that way it won't run if they are in mad love with you, because we want the others to run that. So I'll come and copy this condition. I'll add it to the next one. We'll open this up, same thing, but this time The minimum value is going to be 49 and -1 still. Then we'll add it again to this the middle one. So this is they don't know who you are. So we'll say 0, 0 on both of them. This one's saying he's seen us before, so he is aware of us. So I'm just going to set this one to something like 1 and 25. And finally, I'll just set this one on the final one to be 26 because we've set this to 25. And then this one will be 26. So anything after that, he'll be really happy with us. And just a minor mistake I've made, let's set the max value for the very negative one to be -25. So between -25 and 50, he will really hate you. If it's -24 to -1, he'll be okay. So if you see if I run up to him now, he should say, hey, not seen you around before. And we'll say, your wares are rubbish. There we go. So we've now insulted him a bit. He's -10. He's not angry at us. He's just not the best case of us. He thinks we're weird. So we'll come in and talk to him again. Oh, it's you, look, but don't expect a discount. He remembered that he's upset with us, which is really cool. Polish it off and say, you have some really nice stuff. There we go. So he's now got a 0. So we will technically go back to saying he doesn't know who we are, but we can fix that with just narrative stuff. And we'll say you do have some really great stuff again. And you'll see now it's 10. So if I speak to him again, hello there, are you here to see my wares? You see, because he's now friendly with us. So if I just come and spam this for a bit and just keep telling him you have some really nice stuff. So there we go. So he should really like us now. If I talk to him this time, hello my friend, please have a look. I'll give you a huge discount because the relationship is there. He really likes us. We can check the relationship value. You can see it's at 50. He's really friendly with us. So now that we have basic dialogue integrations, you can see now how with just a basic code run there for the update and a check one here that you can add to anything and customize it to your requirements. You can really make it do anything you want. So let's now add it to a basic quest here. So I'm going to make it so when we talk to him, he gives us a basic quest and we either have to basically put something in this chest for us, for example, something really basic. So we'll say, hey, please put this thing in my chest. Please help me. I need help. Something like that. And we say, sure. And then we can make it so if we go to the chest and do it, his relationship will boost up a little bit because we've done it. But we can also make it that if we don't and we run over here, for example, he'll think that we're stealing it and he'll get a bit angry at us. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a super basic quest to do that. So there is my little super basic quest. So you basically talk to him and it starts here. You say, do you want any help? He says, oh yes, my back's hurting. Please can you move this heavy iron? He gives you the quest and he gives you the iron to start it. And then in the quest I basically say, put the iron in the chest, which is a custom task I've made. Find item from actor. For those who are using narrative and narrative inventory, I just copied find item. And right at the beginning, instead of looping over the party members, I just found the chest with a tag and then left everything else the same. That's it. But now I can check if the iron has been placed in the chest. And then when I do, I succeed the quest and I start some basic dialogue, which basically says, thank you, kind sir. Or if you do the other way and you move 500 meters away, acting like you've stole it, you could, of course, make this better with a trigger and everything. It'll fail the quest. It will start the dialogue, which will basically say, hey, you stole my item, I remember that. So we could just, of course, add the relationship update to here, but that's not the point of this. We want to know how to do it during a quest. So on the quest success, I'm going to come in and do update relationship. And this is the exact same code we used before. So it'll be for the player and the knight's merchant. And we will say +10 because we did good. And then we can save it just like that. I can duplicate this entire update. I can add it at the end of the failure one. And we'll say -10 because we stopped from him. And if we try it now, you'll see that we have a fully working quest based on your decision changes the relationship in the game. So if I come up and talk to him, he says, hey, not seen you around. Do you need any help? He says, oh, yes, I do. My back is hurting. Can you please move this heavy iron into my chest? And we've got the... So you can see it is calculating how much we're walking away, which is fine. But if I come to this chest, and you'll see if I put the iron in the chest and just place it all in, it will say, thank you, kind sir. The quest has succeeded. And if we check the relationship now, you will see he is at 10. He is happy that we succeeded the quest. However, if I restart it and talk to him again, but this time I think, hey, this iron's worth something, I'm going to run away. I'm going to stop the quest before doing that and massively tank how much you have to run away because we're going to be there. So we'll do 20 meters. But you get the point. It to be a trigger or something like you go around to steal the iron. So there we go. If I run 20 meters, boom. And then you can see, boom, it says, hey, you stole my item, I'll remember that. And if we check the relationship, he is upset. We've stole his iron. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? Super, super easy to use, but it makes it really, really nice to do. And it really adds to the game. So you're pretty much getting an understanding of how this is working now. And it really does come down to the check and the update. Of course, for anyone not using narrative, this is going to be a bit weird for you. You're going to have to convert it. But one that everybody's going to use, locked off areas potentially. So if I just move this cave over here, and we'll say that this guy will say, whatever you do, don't go through this cave. It's my secret cave. You know, something like that. So let's create a trigger right here that can update the relationship if we go inside it. And you could use this on your AI if you're sneaking into someone's house, or maybe it's just an area you're not supposed to go to. And it could be anything like that. But I'm going to come back to my blueprints folder. And inside here, I'll just right click and create a new folder called triggers. And then inside here, I will right click blueprint class. I'll just make it a box trigger for me. A trigger box, select, and I'll do tb underscore for trigger box, and we will call it update relationship area. And I'll open this up. So we'll make this a bit bigger just by default. So we'll come and set the box extent to something like 140, 240, and we'll set the height to be something like 100, you know, just so it looks like a wall. And then we'll come and override the on component begin overlap. And then this is the really cool thing where our relationship system works. I'm going to drag off the other actor, and I'm just going to see, can we cast it to a normal character? So is it a type of pawn? And because characters are always loaded, this isn't going to be making anything wrongly, so you're okay memory-wise to do this way. If it is a type of character that's gone in here, then I'm going to go and get that character's name. In my case, it's just their tags. And I'm going to get the first tag. And whether this is the player or an NPC, you see my NPC has a tag of the name of him, because that's how my system works. But it's entirely up to you how you get their name. But I'm going to get the name of them. And then I'm going to get my game instance afterwards. And then I will drag off and do update relationship, just like we did before. Then character 1 will be the tag that we've just got, so the character who's entered it. Character 2, I will promote to a variable saying area tag owner, something like that. I'll make sure it's instance editable. And then the value, I'll promote to a variable. The buffs to add and the buffs to remove. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. Make them all instance editable, like so. And then that's pretty much it. We could make it one step further and just add a boolean called be one time only. And then make this instance editable. And then right afterwards, if it is one time only, meaning you can't re-trigger over and over and over and over again, we'll just destroy it. That just makes it be reusable. But now we can drag this trigger box into our little gap here. Like, drag it up a bit. Close this rock off. There we go. We've got a nice little trigger box. Look, we're completely ignoring the fact that you can walk around this way to get to the same route. So just pretend to block it off, you know. Something like that. This is his special cave. He doesn't want anybody going in there. And then if we select the trigger box, we can now come and populate its values here. So you see the area tag owner is going to be our knight's merchant here. So I'll just come and get his name and I'll add it here. If we go inside, it's going to be -10 because he's realised, hey, I told you not to go in there. But we'll also make him give us a buff. And you can see we haven't actually got a buff to handle this, but that's okay because we made it really easy to add. If I come to my enums folder and inside my relationships we can come in, let's add a new enum here, trespassed. Is that how you spell trespassed? Trespassed. After Googling it. Gone somewhere you shouldn't. There we go. And that's it. We've added an entirely new buff to our game. So I can come in and say, they have trespassed. And that's going to add a permanent value of -10 to them as well. We could technically don't have to add the value there, but we can remove that. It's not a permanent one. The expiry date, we're ignoring. But the expiry length, we will say, I believe this is in UDS format, so we'll do 1 full day. He's annoyed that we trespassed. And that's going to stack because it's not one time only. So now you'll see, if we run to him and start the quest, do you need any help? Yes, please help me, my back's hurting, but I've made it look right at him and say, but remember, never go in my cave, it's my cave. Okay, bit of a weird warning. But if we do the iron anyway, you know, thank you, kind sir, that's all good. He's now happy wheels at 10. But if we go inside his cave now, you will see the relationship value has gone to -10 because we've gone inside his cave for trespassing, and we shouldn't have done that. Equally, we can come and we can set it to something positive and say, go inside my cave if you want some fun stuff, any likes, or, you know, anything like that. But that's just using a basic trigger value to change the game. You can, of course, add this into AI or anything destructible, anything like that at all. But one other common thing you could do, just to really show how to make this system expand, is you could do it if you break something that somebody owns. So I've got this general barrel here that we added very early on in this game. Super basic. The entire point of it was for us to just be able to hit something. That's it. Not great, but then it destroys. That's it. A super basic barrel. But we can simply modify the code to tie that barrel to him. So if I open this general barrel up, and you don't need it, all it is an interface when damage is taken and for when it's destroyed. That's it. So just like we did on the trigger here, we can basically copy the entire relationship thing here without the get, paste it after the general barrel here. We can promote these values to a variable like so. And instead of area tag owner, we will do barrel owner, something like that. We'll make it all instance editable. We will simply convert it, and then we'll say equals case insensitive none because the default value of text is none. So does it equal none? If it's false, so it doesn't, then it means it's got an owner, so we can apply what we need, like so. Now on my interface, I don't actually store who destroyed it. It's something that I do need to eventually do. But for now, all I'm going to do is just come and put the player, just for demo purposes. But if you did it on damage here, that might work a lot easier for us, actually. Let's just do it on damage, so he gets annoyed at us when we damage something of his. Then we can get the damage causer here. We can get the tags, just like I normally do, just like we did before. Then we can get the first tag, and I can plug it in like. And we can wrap this entire thing just over here in a comment saying, if has an owner, apply relationship update. So we can compile and save, and just like that, we've converted a destructible actor to an owned one that can affect the relationship. So we'll keep this barrel as one that you can destroy. However, if we drag this one over here, we'll say the barrel owner is the Knights Merchant. The value is going to be we'll do -30. He's really annoyed you destroyed his barrel. Buffs to add. For a final one, we need a new one. So let's just go back to our buffs. Add a new one. Attacked possession. Attacked something like that someone else owns. Something like that. We can come and set this new one to it, like so. And we'll say that applies a buff of -10. And we will say it lasts half a day. They're really annoyed that you did it. So if we start the game this time, ladies and gentlemen, for the final time, if we test the relationship, we've got 0-0. If I come and just destroy this barrel here, you can see the relationship is 0. He doesn't own it. He doesn't care about that barrel. However, this barrel is his barrel. So if we damage that, you can see he's already gone to -30. He's like, hey, what are you doing? That's my barrel. You can see we've destroyed it. He's really upset that we've destroyed it. If we talk to him, who will barely not want to talk to us because we've upset him so much. How cool is that? So you can see over the progression of this relationship system, it started as something really minor, but we've gone from saying the wrong thing or the right thing to him can improve your relationship. Your options in your quest changes how the outcome for your relationship goes, and we've even added areas and destructible things that will change his opinion of you. Imagine if you snuck round and was just destroying barrels and you destroyed it, and you found that he hated you because of it. It's really going to make the player rethink actions in the game. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? I hope this helped. In the next episode, we are going to be looking at the UI. I'm probably going to generate some UI myself and show you how to do it, but we'll do the whole thing where we show you what buffs, the characters, all stuff like that, and how long they've got left. So it's going to be really fun, but it'll be a nice UI episode. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this helped. If you've had any issues, please comment below or reach out to me in the Discord. My name is Decryption, and I will see you next time.